The time's come to play here in my garden of shadows.
Hello, I'm Rinya, aka Media Adaptation, and welcome back to Moderation while Media is fair game. And it's time once again to talk about the supposedly lost A-style anime Go for a Punch, aka Saki Sanabashi. And I'm just going to throw this out as a note in the editing room. This video has been an absolute nightmare to process. For some reason, the file keeps getting corrupted, so I'm sticking this in here after the 5th attempt at this. So God knows if it's actually going to make the Sunday deadline or not. The joys of modern life. Anyway, back to the show. Every week for the past 3 months, we keep getting this comment saying Saki is fake, so why are we even trying? And to that, we've kind of reached a nirvana-like state. Whether Saki is real or not doesn't really affect the show. We are dedicated to document the search for the subject, for all parties interested in this topic. And we also talk about often forgotten old-school anime. While someday actually finding Saki would be amazing, it is not the linchpin that some trolls think it is. But that's neither here nor there. So without further ado, let's check in with the Discord server and see what's been happening in the past 4 days since our last video. Again, really trying to get this back to a normal schedule. And we got some people searching here and there, but nothing really new or noteworthy to talk on yet. Most of the time has been spent to finally finding the origins to this photo, which turns out to be from Hana Yori Dengo, or Boys Over Flowers, from 1996. It had a 51 episode run, so I can't really pin down which frame this one comes from, but we've seen the character in question, so it is finally safe to rule it out. We also get people asking why we go through so much effort in trying to name some of these things, namely the anime cells from a while back. Someone said it has already been debunked. Well, the answer is actually twofold. If someone said that they know what it is, but don't share the source, or something else happens like the Discord server getting deleted, it doesn't really help anyone else who missed out on that information. And two, as in the Clockman search, the lead that finally led to the cartoon coming to light was overlooked for 5 years. So I feel that every lead should be thoroughly looked at before it can safely be filed away. So anyway, let's give a quick rundown of the images from last week. And a big thanks to some of our viewers for helping out on this. Gennaro1, Stranger Person 14, and Yuki-chan. You've all been a massive help to this program.
Wait, does that mean you've taken to outsourcing your work?
Maybe?
You lazy bastard.
Anyway, the last of the mystery images seem to come from Devadasi, a kind of wannabe Evangelion from 2000. I haven't really seen much myself, but it's normally not remembered very fondly. We also have this one from Detonator Oregon, a mecha anime from 1991. Next we have this one from a hentai called Love Wave from 2000. It seems to be a tech-based one, but it also has a horror tag, so you might have to circle back to this and do a full review of the anime. After that, we have this one from Fushigi Yuji from 1995. An anime that's in a very similar vein to something like Ranma 1/2 or Tenchi. And then this one is from Great Teacher Onizuka from 1999, which is about an ex-motorcycle enthusiast who becomes a teacher. Again, haven't seen this one, but heard very good things about it. The next one on the list is from Tales of Little Women from 1987, obviously based on the novel of the similar name. But this one definitely had that Miyazaki art style down pat. Again, if you'd like to join this Discord server, then the link to it will be in the description of this video. So with that out of the way, let's move on to Reddit. And as much as I don't want to, let's start with r/Saki Sanabashi. And strangely, we get a rather in-depth report from user Ahmed. Basically a critique and breakdown of the original report, and a full response to how the name Saki Sanabashi isn't part of the anime, and also makes no grammatical sense in Japanese. Again, given how much this board has fallen in the past month, I'm surprised to find a well-written post over there. But it's not just one, as there's a second decent one as well, from the user Diesel Frost. Again, another nice take on the thing. But I don't know if I'd actually suggest going back to the message board to read it. I did send them a message saying that the other board does exist if they'd like to move their stuff there. And one final one before we do so as well, as we got another fan art from Nostalgic Rin. This one is a bit more silly than the other one, but it did make me laugh. So, on to the other board, which we got some nice concept practice art from Team Saki, who's currently doing their recreation video. Which, due to the nature of YouTube, we really cannot show. So, link to the second Reddit will also be under the Discord link, if you'd like to check it out for yourself. Also, the user Starman has been trying to post a story inspired by Saki Sanabashi on the site Storyfire, but seems to have been having an uphill battle to say the least. So with that out of the way, let's move on to our anime. And about 2 or 3 weeks ago, we covered a lot of robot anime, namely Mouse Doll and Black Magic M66. So we were asked to look at one called The Humanoid from 1986. And I have no idea why we got asked to do this, as it's a fairly generic story of an android being made and learning what love is. The main story follows the future of humans now sharing a planet with a group of aliens, an obvious bad guy wanting to use an ancient power source for some odd reason, but the keys were given to each of the leaders of the races. So after strong-arming his group, he goes and invades the research facility to get the other. He ultimately wins, and tries it out for himself, only to learn that there's a very good reason why it was forgotten, and then dies from it. So our robot sacrifices herself to shut it off and save the planet. You can definitely tell that this was a product of the 80s, as we constantly get rock ballads over some of the action scenes. So much so that I half expect Optimus Prime to show up to battle Megatron. God, I really love that movie. But finally back to something else more in theme with this channel. So let's talk about the 1987 violent adult anime called Legends of Lion Flare, which we talked about briefly back in episode 8, as it starts off with a guy who has a snake dick begging someone to death.
Which one? We've talked about at least 5 people with snake members, so after a while they all kind of blend together.
Fair point. Our Dark Lord in question is a little refreshing as a bad guy, as he knows exactly what he is. And his plan is very simple: invade the world of Leon, pillage, rape, murder, and then rape again, as you tend to do. Man, the 80s really were a simpler time. Anyway, down on the planet below, they're preparing for the wedding of Princess Flare, and her mother is having this weird, ominous feeling that something's about to happen. I don't know, it might have something to do with that ship full of murder Vikings that are currently on their way. But that's just a hunch. And it doesn't take long for their medieval world to get set upon by kaiju-sized battle mechs. But it also gets worse, as on top of that, they also have fighter jets. Yeah, I don't think you're gonna win this one. Oh, and even on top of that, also lightsabers. God, you're just so screwed here. So, needless to say, they overthrow the kingdom in record time. And then he gives the royal guard a taste of his giant anaconda. After he's through with her, he goes after Princess Flare, but she still tries to stop him. And then he quite literally bitch slaps her with his snake dick. That is a sentence that I just had to say. He goes after Flare, but the castle starts to fall apart, and she's emitting a massive amount of energy. And this will be the second time we've seen someone go nuclear in this situation. The effects of this are even shown outside the castle, as the world splits apart, and the mech suits are gravely damaged, which others are swallowed by the sea. Mountains spike up and damage the airships. And the injured prince fights in vain to save Flare, as the evil king is far too strong for him, until the ship crashes into the castle, impaling the sorry son of a bitch, who dies laughing, saying that as his main goal was accomplished. As to what that is, I guess that leads into the second OVA, which we'll get to when it comes up on our list. So I guess to wrap up this episode, it's time for some manga. And if you've been following the show, we've been looking at the works of the artist Shenmue. And today's story is called The Curse of the Three Sisters. Long ago, in a certain place, there lived a family. They were very close. Their father died of illness, and so their mother raised the three sisters, all on her own. The three sisters loved their mother, and the mother loved her three daughters. Although their apartment was a little run down, and the family was far from being wealthy, they were living happily. But then, one day, while the mother was away, an intruder broke into the house and killed the three sisters. The intruder fled the scene, and even now his whereabouts are unknown. When the mother returned home and saw that her daughters had been massacred, she blamed herself. Blaming herself to the point of breaking. The mother lost her mind and was taken to a faraway hospital. After that, it's said that she passed away, without ever returning home. It was decided that the house, who nobody lived in anymore, would be cleaned up. Many strangers entered the house, and then something very peculiar happened. The people who entered the house all became ill and collapsed after leaving the house. Some also had accidents. There were even those who ended up dying horrible deaths. According to the rumors, it was the curse of the three sisters. It was said the three sisters are still in that house, and that they are waiting for their mother to return. The cleaning of the house was cancelled, and the other residents of the apartment block moved away. Eventually, no one was left, and so the building went into a desolate ruin. Or so, that's how the story goes, as a group of girls talk about the rumor, one that they've heard over the past 20 years. One of them, Sawagu, isn't really buying the story, and the teller, Najimu, was put off by her attitude. And the legend tells about a text message that you could also get from them. So she makes one up to trick her into it. Our main character of this is called Nagari, and like the story itself, she lives alone with her mother, who works all day for her. She knows how much she loves her, but she still can't help but feel alone. The prank works, and the group sets off for the accursed apartment. But then, our main girl gets a different text asking to bring their mother. They get there only to find it locked, and then the group starts bickering as a loud sound is heard. Their argument stops as the door is now open. The group goes around the house, acting like more of a tourist attraction than an actual crime scene. And our girl comes across a picture of the family, and then sees a small shadow darting through the doorway. The group decides to go, but each of her friends decides to take an item with them as a souvenir. An umbrella, a doll, and a book. She protests, but her complaint falls on deaf ears. And as the group departs, for a moment, she swears she can see the shadows of the girls following her friends. The next day it rains, and her loudmouth calls herself lucky for deciding to keep the umbrella. But then a small voice comes out from behind them, and a small little girl in red asks if she can give it back to her. And that's where the first chapter ends. Of course, there's 3 of them. So next week we'll look at part 2. And as we learned from last week, we've all seen what little girls are capable of. And that about does it for this video. If you have any other ideas like seeing made to a video, then please post it down in the comments below, and we'll add it to our next viewer request week.
It's now time for the part of the show where we ask you to help us appease the YouTube algorithm by dropping a like, share, or comment. It helps out much more than you'd think.
And if you haven't subscribed yet, then it's very much appreciated. And if you'd like to support this channel, then please visit our Patreon. Link will be down in the description below. Even if you can't give a lot, every little bit helps. Oh, we also started up a Let's Play channel. So if you want to see us try out some horror games, then feel free to stop on by. Link will be in the card as well as in the description. And I guess I'll see you in the next one. Anyway, I'm Runya.
And I'm Ada.
Remind you to take life in moderation.
Weep not, poor children, for life is this way, murdering beauty and passion.